Okay, good evening. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the continuation of the April Plan Commission meeting. So Jackie, to get us started, would you call the roll?
Sure. David Bush.
Here.
Margaret Clements.
Here.
Tron Enright Randolph. Scott Ferris.
Here.
Rudy Fields.
Here.
David Henry. Jeff Morris.
Here.
Edward Ullman. Julie Thomas.
Here.
Okay, so we have 6 members in person and a quorum.
Hey, do we need to introduce the evidence tonight, Jackie, since this is a continuation?
I'd say let's go ahead and do it.
Okay.
So I'd like to introduce the following items into the evidence. The Monroe County Development Ordinance as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Comprehensive Plan as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Plan Commission Rules of Procedure as adopted and amended. And the cases that were legally advertised and scheduled for a hearing on tonight's agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the introduction of evidence. A vote yes is a vote to approve. Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Tron Enright, or Scott Ferris?
Yes.
Rudy Fields?
Yes.
Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Julie Thomas?
Yes.
David Bush? Motion is approved 6-0.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as published. A vote yes is a vote to approve the agenda. And as a note for anyone online or in person, immediately following the regular Plan Commission meeting, we will begin our administrative meeting. A vote yes is a vote to approve the regular Plan Commission agenda. Scott Ferris?
Yes.
Rudy Fields?
Yes.
Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Julie Thomas?
Yes.
David Bush?
Yes.
Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Motion is approved 6-0.
Hey, we have no minutes to approve, no administrative business on this agenda, and no unfinished business. So we'll jump straight into the new business continued from April 15th, 2025. So first on the list is case SIA-22-5. Tammy?
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to take these two together. This would be the Highland Park Estates Phase 3 and Highland Park Estates Phase 4. They are looking to do a performance period extension request. So this is Phase 3. It does include in the north there that detention kind of platted back in 2018. Phase 4 was platted back in 2020, and both of these are mostly built out. So you've heard some of these before. Back in February of 2025, we introduced these SIAs just as an administrative item. And then March 18th, 2025, at the Plan Commission meeting, Phase 5 was approved. And with that was Condition 1, which states the developer submits a written commitment to the Planning and Legal Department stating the timeline for completing improvements within Phases 2, 3, 4, and 5, and requesting into the county road inventory. So far, this written commitment has not been submitted. We added that at the time because we at the time didn't have full communications going on with the developer of these subdivisions to come up with a performance period and to know enough about what was going on. So it's sort of like an insurance to have that written commitment on file before they can plat at Phase 5 and sell those lots. And then staff did meet with the developer on March 31st with the Highway Department and Planning Department, and kind of came up with a game plan of what needs to happen out here. And then we have had as-built submitted to the Highway Department under record HRWA-23, and those are currently under review. So the progress of improvements for Phase 3, all but 2 lots have been built out and developed. The 2 remaining are wooded lots. The developer may just leave those unbuilt, but put the sidewalks in so that we can complete that subdivision. And like I said, those sidewalks are mostly all installed. There are some deficiencies, I think, that are evident with regards to ADA compliance. Stormwater infrastructure is mostly complete. We're just kind of doing some final review of as-built, I believe. Street trees were completed in phase 3, and then there is some signage that still needs to go up within the subdivision. This should be phase 4. Progress of improvements, phase 4 is all the lots are built out. Roads have been installed, sidewalks are installed. There are some deficiencies that are going to be worked with, mostly due with the way that driveways and sidewalks, intercept each other and aren't compliant. And then stormwater infrastructure, the bioretention lot is pretty close to being done. Street trees are complete, and again, signage. So the actions that staff believe need to be required by August 25th, 2025 is we either need to see phase 2, 3, and 4 accepted into the county inventory, or they need to provide staff with a new estimate that complies with the inflation under the CDO, Chapter 833. We would need to have a new performance bond and subdivision improvement agreement completed, and then they would also need to provide staff with a new letter of credit or cashier's check for both phases, so phase 3 and phase 4. The developers, feels pretty confident that they could get this all what needs to be done and accepted into the inventory by August 25th, 2025. So staff at this point is going to recommend for SIA-22-5 and SIA-22-6 approval for the performance period extension until August 25th, 2025. If it does not appear that progress is being made, to complete the subdivision improvements, or they're not working with the homeowners of the lots where the driveways need to be corrected, then the Plan Commission will unfortunately hear this again on July 15th, 2025, to actually then do a performance period extension other than, the letter of credit expiration date. Does anyone have any questions on Highland Park Estates? One thing I can add is that we've met with some property owners within the subdivision recently. They're really starting to be interested in how the HOA is going to be working, fee structures. They just were really interested in knowing more about this process, and we're hoping to keep them in the loop and maybe help facilitate further communication between the developer and the property owners out there.
Not seeing any questions, so we can turn now to the petitioner. If there's a
Mr. President, or I'm not sure who's all in attendance. I just wanted to be recognized. I am here. I was tardy. I followed a previous link that took me to a different meeting room. There was actually someone that was attempting to attend this meeting, and they're here in attendance. So there's a little silver lining for me going to the wrong link. But I just wanted to be recognized that I was in attendance. Tron and Randolph.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. And I see that we've got Mr. Henry online also. So we will turn now to the petitioner. If we have a petitioner here in the room or online that wishes to speak on this petition, you'll have 15 minutes. If you're online, please raise your virtual hand and we'll give you permission to unmute. Seeing anyone, Ms. Bierman, were we expecting anyone to speak on this? Okay, so we can turn now to public comment. If there's anybody online or in person that wishes to speak for or against this petition, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one, we'll come back to the Plan Commission then. If there's any comments, discussion, or a motion.
I move to approve SIA-22-5 and 22-6, the Highland Park Estates Phase 3 and Phase 4 requests for extension of performance period, subject to the developer submitting a written commitment to the planning and legal department stating that the timeline for completing improvements within phases 2, 3, 4, and 5 and requesting acceptance into the county road inventory. Let's see, and also that we would extend the performance period to August 25th, 2025. If it does not appear that progress is being made to complete the subdivision improvements, then the Plan Commission will have an opportunity to hear this again on July 15th, 2025 to extend the performance period once again.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve both SIA-22-5 and SIA-22-6, which is the request of extension of performance period for Highland Park Estates Phases 3 and 4, and this includes a waiver of final hearing, as well as a condition that the developer submit a written commitment for getting Phases 2, 3, and 4 into the county inventory. So 5 as well. And 5. I apologize for getting the phases 2, 3, 4, and 5 accepted into the county inventory. A vote yes is a vote to approve the SIAs. Tron Enright Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris,
Yes.
Rudy Fields,
Yes.
David Henry, Jeff Morse,
Yes.
Julie Thomas,
Yes.
David Bush,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes?
and then David Henry. Are you able to unmute?
He also
Okay.
has to be visible to vote.
He is visible. Unfortunately, his audio is not working. We're not able to hear you, David, but we can hear Tron. So I can see you, but I can't hear you.
And I wasn't able to hear him, so it's not a
Okay.
Nate Hill room issue.
Well, the motion passes for now 7-0 without Mr. Henry's vote.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Can we take the next two cases together, or would you prefer to do those separately?
We can.
Okay, so we will move on to cases SIA-22-21 and SIA-22-23.
Okay, so this is a request similar to the prior one regarding a request for extension of a performance period. This is for Freeman Field subdivision phases 2 and 3. This is a subdivision located down near East Point Road and South Strain Ridge Road, and it's recently been purchased by a new developer. And so they are working with us to finish out the subdivision and complete the improvements. So the request you are hearing tonight is to extend both phases to August 28th, 2030, and you are the deciding body as the Plan Commission. So just as a note, phases 2 and 3, phase 2 is in yellow on the screen here, and then phase 3 is in blue. So this is a subdivision that has been substantially started and was paused. I believe, given the aerials, I think no substantial activity has gone on since around 2009, 2010. So they have the roadways in, they have stormwater infrastructure in, but they are missing a lot of the other required improvements, such as there's going to be a side path that goes along the perimeter of the subdivision, street trees. Some of the roads that were constructed are not meeting the right design standards, so they've worked with the highway engineer on what those might be. There was a requirement to improve East Fox Lane, and there were some other improvements that are included in the packet. But for now, we are happy to be working with someone who wants to finish out this project. It's been something that we get calls about quite frequently, off and on. So this will definitely be something that we want to see move forward. And then I also have the construction plans. There was maybe some confusion given some of the construction that was happening. People were thinking with our notice signs for the SIA that this was a brand new subdivision. This subdivision was originally approved back in '06, and it was just never fully completed. It was final platted. We have letters of credit on file, but they're woefully inadequate at this point. So the goal of the developer and of staff is to see how much of the checklist of items that need to be completed can be completed. And then come August, when there's a renewal, we will need to increase that amount and adjust for the inflation. So they received initial estimates that would be a combined amount of over $1 million. So they're definitely wanting to work to install some of those improvements before we reassess the amount that's left and is needed for a letter of credit to continue the project. So again, just to reiterate, this was a subdivision previously approved. Tonight, you're just being asked to extend the period of time for which they have to complete the improvements and get it accepted into the county inventory. Does anyone have any questions on this?
We can turn now to the petitioner. If we have a petitioner here in the room or online that wishes to speak on this, please come to the podium. If you could sign in and state your name, you'll have 15 minutes.
Yeah, my name's Tony Fox, and I recently acquired this subdivision from Mr. Don Grubb. He was not the original developer. Charlie Freeman was the original developer that started the project. He got 75–80% into it, and unfortunately he got cancer and he passed away. So in the meantime, I'm not sure exactly what year, probably 10 to 12 years ago maybe, Don Grubb acquired the property from the Freemans, and unfortunately it never did fully get developed, and nobody worked with the county to finish the project. So it's a very nice piece of property. A lot of the infrastructure is there, and like Jackie said, there's just some remaining things to complete. Walking paths. There's a little bit of. I've been working on stormwater improvements. There's some other small. There's pavement overlay to do on the streets, even though the streets are in great condition. There's street trees. So there's nothing super to complete. And we've already, we're currently working on the walking path, which is close to miles worth of walking path along Strain Ridge and Point Road. We've getting real close on the excavation. We have not paved anything. We're getting ready to start on the Fox Lane improvements that the County Highway Department is going to pave. We're doing some excavation and prep work for the county. And so we're diligently working on it. I just acquired property in March. So we've got the grading permits necessary to do what we're doing, and hope to make the project a successful one. And I think everybody in the area is looking forward to completing the project and making it a nice neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fox. Are there any questions for Mr. Fox before he sits down? Okay.
We're just glad to see this project come to fruition, so thank you for
I appreciate
your
that.
endeavors.
We can turn now to public comment. If there's anybody online who wishes to speak for or against this petition, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, not seeing anyone, we can come back to the Plan Commission for conversation or a motion.
Well, I'd like to move that we approve the 2 requests for extension of performance periods for Freeman Field subdivision phases 2 and 3, and that would concern SIA-22-21 and SIA-22-23. Staff didn't put any conditions or any kind of other estimates on it, so I'd just like to recommend the approval and move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve both SIA-22-21 and SIA-22-23, which is the Freeman Field subdivision phases 2 and 3 request for a performance period extension to August 28th, 2030. And this is a waiver of final hearing requested and granted as well with a motion of yes. Scott Ferris.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Scott Ferris.
Yes.
Rudy Fields. David Henry. Still not able to hear you, David. I'm sorry. Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Julie Thomas.
Yes.
David Bush.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Okay. Motion is approved 7-0.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fox. And tech services, it looks like the updates have finished installing on the monitor in front of us. If you could go ahead and log in for us. Moving on, the next and last case on the regular session agenda is case ZOA-25-1. This is amendments to the County Development Ordinance. This is the preliminary hearing with a waiver of final hearing requested.
Thank you. So this is, as you mentioned, a request for a text amendment. We've broken these out to align similarly with the CDO prioritization list. This is kind of an ongoing item, but one of the items that we separated out was any staff kind of Scrivener errors or amendments to make sure we didn't omit certain information. Certainly, as we go through the 520-page document, from time to time we see, words are missing or things were, things that weren't exactly how we hoped that they would be. So we've added those back in and made everything for your review under track changes. So I can go through these under Exhibit 1. This is in the staff packet, but there's just a bulleted list of all the changes, and that helps you go a little bit quicker through the packet. So starting with page 11, and I'm sorry, these will be off by 2, so I need to remember that. So we did add a list of revisions page. This was in some of the early iterations, but we really like this page, and it didn't make it into the final copy. So we will have this page at the very front of the ordinance, which will tell you what's been changing and how to find, that ordinance, so that we sometimes have to go back in time to earlier versions of the CDO, depending on when development occurs. This is going to be a helpful guide for staff and the public. So that's the first one. The second change is that this is more just visual. These will actually all be hyperlinked. So now when you go to this page of the zoning districts, instead of scrolling through each 2-pager, you should be able to click one of these and go to the right 2-pager right from the front. So you'll be able to view all the zones at once and navigate to the right zone pretty quickly. And that's for this page as well. And then you'll see a series of edits on the 2-pagers. Some of them, certainly sorting them alphabetically. Others are actually adding in uses that align with the use table. So there were some issues where we were working on the use table at a time, and then we wouldn't come back to the 2-pager. And because these are duplicates for ease of the public's use, it's just a little bit more onus on staff to keep this page updated alongside the text amendment to the actual use table. So in the code right now, it does state if there's a discrepancy between the 2-pager and the use table is what is controlling. So we want to just make sure that they're correct, because people sometimes do want to walk away with something really easy and short to use. So we have been handing these out, and we want to make sure that they are reflective of the use table. We also have been working on the correct footnotes. Sometimes there have been just Scrivener errors, such as, note number 4, it should say C Eco and LLO, which is Lake Lemon Overlay. So we just omitted that by accident. And sometimes there's a little bit more substantive comments. So like under number 7, where it says for lots within a platted subdivision, we've added a section under Chapter 813 based on legal advice regarding which is more restrictive versus whether we can go with a platted setback, because there have been issues where a plat may have been adopted in 2023 or 2024, and then the zoning changed and half of the lots are built out, but the other half are not. And, do we want that difference in development look in terms of setback, or can they go back to what the plat says? So we've added that, and I will go over that when we get to that point. But we did try to clean up these superscripts for each one of these. So similar on all of the two-pagers, so I won't go through each and every one of these. Okay. So then also for ease of use on the very right-hand side, this used to just have Ys in this entire column. Now we've made it that this button is hyperlinked, and this has the correct code reference for the use that's permitted with standards or conditional, so people can click around kind of more quickly to see what standards would be applicable for the use, if any. So that's the reference list. On page 62, we did notice that we accidentally omitted a use, which was kennel, and we added this back in similar to what it was in the prior ordinance. We instead just had kennel commercial breeding operations. We had kennel in the use, the two-pagers, and we had standards for kennels, but we didn't actually put it in the use table. So we felt that that was a true accidental omission. But if there's any further discussion on this point, or if any of these need to be broken out further, I'd be happy to do that. Okay. And then the next few are going to be alphabetical reordering. So we switched around the alphabetization of some of these uses to make them correct. So no changes, substantial changes, unless you see it in red. Green means reordering. Okay, and then for ease of use, we have had some folks that have been unsure of which section of definitions they're in, so we've gone through and changed which section has different definitions, so we are working through that. And then under chapter 813, this is a section I wanted to spend a little bit of time on. We did accidentally omit something that we use pretty regularly in our office, so we're going to put that back in, which is a way to combine lots for planning and zoning purposes. If you own two lots next to each other and you want to build over the lot lines, we have people add this language onto both deeds and combine them for planning and zoning purposes. It's worked out pretty well. It seems to be something that is voluntary. People prefer it as opposed to doing an actual plat and paying a surveyor. So it's something that we utilize and can follow and track. So we put that back in. Number 6 is new language, but it was discussed with the legal department after, as I mentioned, having some plats that were more recent, and then with the adoption of the CDO, just some of the issues that we were facing with some of those plats. So instead of stating that whichever is more restrictive, the zone or the plat, we've now added it to say if a lot is within a recorded subdivision in which the setback measurements, front, side, and rear, are tabulated or illustrated on the recorded plat, a lot may be developed pursuant to those platted setbacks, regardless of zoning setbacks. So they could go with the zoning setbacks, but they, if the platted setbacks are less restrictive than the new zone, we want to be able to honor those, especially if it's a more recent plat, because the Plan Commission had to approve that plat. So we believe that it's something that is in keeping with some of the prior approvals. So that's something that we added in there.
You explained, this came up before, and I have a general question about which takes precedence when, the setbacks, the plats, subdivisions, and standards, building standards. I'd like to know if someone moves into a neighborhood, can they expect their neighborhood to remain kind of the way that it looks under the new CDO, or will they be under less restrictive, or will their setbacks be changed in general, or Yeah.
Yes, so if someone lives in a platted subdivision and concerning the use, I'll go with that first. The plat does stipulate what the use of each lot in the subdivision is going to be. So let's say it says single family detached, even though the CDO says you can have a two-family dwelling in that zone or a townhome or something like that, you would have to amend the plat to put that type of development on one of those lots. So that's the use question. In terms of the setback, that's where we're adding this language in. So right now, if we don't add this language in, the way that the CDO reads is it says whichever is more restrictive. So let's say that you were part of a subdivision that was platted in 2023 and your side setback was 5 feet. And everyone around you has built their homes to that 5-foot side setback. Now, with the passage of the CDO, your side setback is 10 feet. So you would have to abide by the 10-foot setback. So that's the difference that we're seeing. And for some of these lots that are zoned community development, for instance, it's a 0.21 acre lot and they're 70 feet wide. So a difference of 10 feet, 5 on each side, makes a huge difference for people. So that's why we've added in. We feel like, especially if you're already in a subdivision and you see what the other lots are platted and built out as, it could be something that you don't just switch course halfway through the development because of the zone change, but that's up for further discussion.
Thank you for going over that with us. Thank you.
I have a few more, but I wanted to pause on this to see if anyone else had questions.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
We're moving quite fast, so I kind of understand this, but I just wanted to kind of make sure that we cover this kind of through our discussion. And the page 30, one of the 2-pagers, and that's going to be the page for the CDO. Yeah, actually, it's going to start on 29. That's kind of where it's kind of it's split a little there. Or actually it starts on 28, I'm sorry. The rural neighborhood, the RNH, and then when we kind of scroll down to table 8-804, the summary, and then when we look at the minimum lot size, and it's 0.14, but then we're adding all of those other conditions, like one, where like if it's in an eco, you have to have 1 acre of contiguous minimal buildable area. So, and then we're going to add 8, which is also, if in eco, it must be 5 acres. Also, I think 9, which would be the property, if the property only has access to septic, the minimum lot size of size to subdivide property is at least 20 acres. I understand that's accurate. I just wanted to kind of bring a finer focus. Also, I guess I would make sure that you had a chance to let me know that it is correct and let the public know. I won't, my concerns are, this might put a lot of extra burden on some property owners, and I just want to be clear that that's what I'm looking at.
Sure. Thanks for asking the question. So these footnotes really are meant to just point people to other parts of the ordinance. So if you're in RNH and you already have an eco overlay, even without these superscripts, those regulations are still applicable. What's happening is that people will come in and they use those footnotes, even our planners use those to guide people to say, oh yeah, I remember that, not just the minimum lot size of 0.14. I need to really ask you questions about whether you're on septic or sewer. I need to check the map to see if you're in any kind of overlay. So it's really meant to help people because we know that the ordinance is long and certainly not all chapters apply to all properties. So we're just trying to help people custom, their property to which regulations are applicable.
Right. So this wouldn't necessarily be putting more potential standards for compliance on property. Like, I guess.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
want, so these are already kind of baked into the ordinance. This is just meant to allow us to follow along a bit easier.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. I still think it's kind of important to kind of highlight some of how those relate to each other. So thank you, and appreciate the answers.
Hey, do any other members of the Plan Commission have questions for Jackie?
I have a few more. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
There's a long list. So these are more Scrivener errors, but we forgot to add 3 types of maple trees into our approved planting list. So we are adding those back in. We had some formatting errors to reference the right section in the chapter 818, which is the section on sidewalks. And then we had definition labels similarly for the airport. I won't go over those because those are not too substantial. Page 253 of the CDO, we had an error in there that was from the old ordinance, which was Monroe and Griffey Lake shoreline and setbacks of 125 feet. It's now 200 feet. So it was correct in the 2-pager, but it was incorrect in this section. We wanted to clarify. And the reason we had moved to 200 feet, we did deliberate on that with the Plan Commission, was due to that's matching the regulations on the separation distances for septic systems. So we felt that was appropriate to increase that and match other regulations for development in these sensitive areas. And then we added labels for floodplain. I won't go over that. Page 304. We did correct a few references throughout the document, so that was so that you can go to the right section of the ordinance. This is a section on street trees. This is a little bit more substantial than just Scrivener's error. So this is going to be, we didn't have tree standards, street tree standards in the landscaping ordinance before. It was in the subdivision ordinance. And then when we did the CDO and consolidated them, it was omitted. So we've added that back in to say it's now tree standards for subdivisions. And we're going to have it within 20 feet of the right-of-way, and the number of trees planted or preserved shall be equivalent to 1 tree for every 40 feet of proposed lots with frontage. And then we're also adding in a section in here, even if they do not prompt street trees based on any other factor, we're going to have them do a preservation area. And this is something that our Assistant Director, Tammy Bierman, worked closely with Purdue Extension, Edward Ullman, to come up with an identifiable area that could be consistent. So it's going to be preservation or planting area will be at least a minimum rate of 500 square feet of closed canopy structure per required street tree. So that gives us a way to kind of consistently measure preservation areas and figure out, whether that's the right amount for the number of trees that they're stating that they're preserving. Okay, and then was there any questions on that one since that's a bigger text amendment? No. Page 40, let's see, this would be page 401 of the CDO. We did have, is a requirement that a residential storage structure, which is, for most people, it's a pole barn going in before a house. We required that have a certified plot plan. We're proposing that go back to the way the old ordinance was, which is to allow for a scaled plot plan. Typically, these are happening in rural settings, and sometimes people don't have an immediate plan for building, so asking for a certified plot plan has been a pretty high bar for a lot of folks. So there's been a request to see if we could switch that back to be a scaled plot plan. So that's one of the text amendments here as well.
Tell us how that request came in.
Sure. So it's more just starting with our staff not recognizing that the CDO had changed the requirement, and then us having some good conversations at staff meetings saying, this is a couple examples that I've gotten this week. These folks are not going to proceed at all if we require a certified plot plan. Is there any waiver to that? And there really is not a waiver. But they'll, have properties that are 20 acres large, and they can only have a structure that's size 1,750 square feet. So it's kind of a small first structure, and then if they ever want to build a house, then it would require a certified plot plan at that point. So
Thank you for elucidating that.
And to follow up on that, this isn't a structure that can be lived in temporarily. That's my concern, is that it becomes a detached accessory dwelling unit in the future. That's my worry.
That's right. We do look at the floor plans and construction plans, and if there's a sleeping area, a kitchen, and a bathroom, we do tag that as being a residence, and that would require a certified plot
Great,
plan.
thank you.
Sure.
Good work.
And then we did remove references to hearing officer or hearing examiner out of the CDO. We had previously removed it out of the rules of procedure, and that was part of the CDO prioritization list. And then lastly, we did update some definitions for planning director and residential storage structure. And that is the final list.
For now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'll ask my question. Do any members of the Plan Commission have questions for Jackie? Okay, let's turn to public comment. If there's anybody online who wishes to speak for or against this, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, not seeing anyone, we'll come back to the Plan Commission for conversation and or a motion.
I move that we forward the amendment to the county development ordinance as stated be forwarded to the county commissioners for approval.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to...
And also a waiver of final hearing. Friendly amendment, do I need to do that?
I agree.
It's been moved and seconded to send a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for ZOA-25-1, along with a waiver of final hearing. A vote yes is to send the favorable recommendation. Rudy Fields?
Yes.
David Henry?
Yes.
We can hear you. Great. Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Julie Thomas?
Yes.
David Bush?
Yes.
Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Trona Enright Randolph?
Pardon me, I wasn't able to come off mute real quick when the Vice President Morris was asking if there was a comment, so I'll be really brief. I just want to thank the Plan Commission and the planning staff for all their hard work. There's a lot of good things coming of this amendments, except for there's a few I just don't support. And since they're all kind of batched together, I understand that makes it kind of move smoother. But for those reasons, I'm going to have to say no.
Scott Ferris?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is approved 7-1.
Thank you, Jackie. That takes us, or that was our last item on the regular meeting agenda. So do you have any planning reports tonight?
No, I do not.
Mr. Schilling online? If
He
so,
is.
okay. Mr. Schilling, do you have any legal reports for us tonight?
Tech Services, can you promote Dave S.? I don't think he does have any reports, but I'll let him speak.
Just a second to chime in. Schilling, if you have any reports, you should be able to unmute now and speak. Going to assume there are no legal reports then?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Schilling, go ahead.
Yeah, no report from legal tonight.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so don't go anywhere. We're going to take a 5-minute break here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to adjourn this meeting and come back and start our administrative meeting. So let's come back at 6:20.